Hey guys, I've recently been farming a lot of these crystallization catalyst blueprints because it turns out you need a lot of these, especially with a new season coming up. The fastest way I've found so far nets me about 4 an hour, and that involves running the shelter a whole bunch of times and then killing the devourer a whole bunch of times. The reason I chose this combination is because I'm able to run the shelter in roughly 5 minutes on average. Sometimes if I'm lucky, it can go faster, but it's also because I'm able to kill the devourer in 11 to 15 seconds. So to start the farm, you'll want to head over to the shelter and roll for the more options. Here I was pretty lucky and got the kill score of 230%, but anything above 220 will do. After loading in, then you wait for the mission to start. And once it's started, that's when you start the run. The first section isn't too interesting. You basically run past all of these mobs, and your bunny's third ability should have enough skill power to kill them off. The next section is where you can farm points to increase your score. Here you can take advantage of doing this run solo because you can farm points. If you were to do this in a group, then the task would be completed a lot faster, and you wouldn't get a chance to kill as many mobs. I find this to be the most annoying part of the dungeon. By the time you finish this section, you should have farmed enough points to put you on pace for the full score. The rest is pretty straightforward. Eliminate all the mobs in the rooms, and that will lead you to the hallway which leads into the boss room. Finish off the boss, and you're done. There's no other tricks and no need to wait around. The boss is pretty straightforward. Just stay outside of his shotgun range and kill off any turrets that he summons. As you can see, he does hit pretty hard, so I had to run around quite a few times to grab some health pickups. And finally, this is my score. I'm able to get 5 minutes pretty consistently. Here are some examples of my other runs. And here's the bunny build, the gun build, and the components that I used for that run. I've also seen a lot of people suggesting the Sepulcher as an alternative to the shelter. Here, the biggest issue is guiding the drone with your shield. Whenever you get hit, you lose shields, and when your shield runs out, that's when you have a lot of downtime. This slows down your progress if you're trying to solo the dungeon. Some might argue that you can use a Descendant like Glay because she doesn't use shields. But then a new issue pops up where you don't have the advantage of Bunny's sprint and the AoEs. In the case of this run, I got 6 minutes. It would be a lot faster if I had another person. Other fast dungeons include Quarantine Zone at 4 minutes 51 seconds, Magister's Lab at 4 minutes 47, and Haven with a new 1.07 update at 5 minutes and 12 seconds. All these dungeons were done at 220% bonus score. So you might be wondering how the hard mode compares against normal. I ran through all the normal mode dungeons, and the fastest time I got was slightly above 2 minutes for Magister's Lab. If normal mode is so fast, then why isn't it worth it? To figure that out, I'll need to bring out the notepad. Going by our rates, on normal mode you get 1 amorphous every 2 minutes, and on hard mode you get 2 amorphous every 5 minutes. Using the same common denominator, this is equivalent to 5 amorphous every 10 minutes for normal, and 4 amorphous every 10 minutes for hard. On normal, you have a 15% chance of hitting a blueprint, and on hard, you have 20. So now you want to figure out what's the chance of getting a blueprint in one of these 5 openings. And to do that, you have to work backwards. First, we need to figure out what's the chance of not getting a blueprint in any of the openings. For normal, this means it's 85% to the power of 5, because you're opening it 5 times. The answer to this is 0.444 or 44%. To find out the chance of getting a blueprint, we'll take 1 minus the 44.4% to get 55.6%. This means in 5 runs, you expect a 55.6% chance of getting a blueprint. Now applying the same math to hard, you get a 41% chance of not getting a blueprint in any of the 4 runs, which means you get a 59% chance of getting a blueprint in any of the 4 runs. So comparing the two, hard does give you a 3.4% better chance of getting a blueprint, but if you don't have the gear, then normal is still very viable. Now if you want to compare this to Outpost, I can run the math here as well. Blueprints are only found on even-numbered amorphous materials. So that means having a Sharon around won't help. There's a 25% chance of getting a blueprint, and they're on 1-minute timers. It takes 15 to 30 seconds for destroying all the structures and killing the boss, which leads to about 1 minute and 15 seconds in total for a 25% chance of getting an amorphous material. Doing the math, this means we get 1 amorphous material every 1 minute and 15 seconds, or 1¼ minutes, and for the dungeon, we still get 2 materials every 5 minutes. Changing them to the same common denominator, we get 4 every 5 minutes with an expected value of 1 every 5 minutes because of the 25% chance. Comparing the two, it's clear that the dungeon yields 2 times more than Outpost. So it's clear that the dungeons are the way to go, and after running all of them, here are my preferences. The first is the Shelter, partly because it takes me only 5 minutes, but also because Devourer is super easy to kill. The second is Magister Lab at 4 minutes 47, and if you're able to burst the Executioner down, then that's also a viable option. Then comes Quarantine Zone at 4 minutes and 51, and the corresponding boss is Molten Fortress. And finally, I have Haven at 5 minutes and 12 seconds, and the boss is Frostwalker. Haven's point system was recently buffed, and Frostwalker was recently nerfed in patch 1.07. So why do I expect to get 4 blueprints every hour? It's because I'm able to get 2 amorphous every 5 minutes from the Shelter, and I'm able to finish the Devourer in under 15 seconds, which means I can do 2 Devourers every 30 seconds, but just to make the math easy, I'll say I'll do 2 Devourers every minute. This means I have a total of 6 minutes for 2 openings. Multiplying this by 10 to get 60 minutes means I get 20 openings. 20 openings multiplied by the 20% chance of getting a blueprint leaves me with an expected value of 4 blueprints per hour. If you know of any better methods, leave a comment and I'll see if I can make an update. Thanks for watching.